So, Marina, we're not doing anything differently than we've ordinarily we do. A, B, C, the second half of Z, our mothers and fathers, and then E, Hine Matov, then right back to Yai.
Maybe if I feel moved,
Yeah.
I repeat.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Right? Fair enough.
That means done. In case you were wondering.
Okay. Okay.
Finished. Ah. These are motions that I'm learning for tennis, and I realized I had the wrong motion. This means out, and I thought this meant in.
Oh, that could be dangerous. Get the
What do you say? Should we start this party?
sure.
Shabbat shalom. You can hear me, right? Great.
Shabbat shalom. You can hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. I know we've started because my thing times out and then I have to refresh it. All right. Well, as I was saying to the Pollocks, there are already more people here than I thought were going to come today, so I'm a very happy rabbi. And it's great to be together, and we're going to begin with Hine Matov, which is on bracketed page 128. But it really starts with Lies, and you don't need a book for that, so you can definitely sing with us for the Lies.
We come from a tale told long ago, passed on by the waves and the wind. We've made it this far together, you know. Come, brothers and sisters, let's sing. Hine ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Our mothers and fathers who weathered the storm grew strong in the trials of their time. So we brothers and sisters, let door by door, carry on with the song in our lives. Hine ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da, yai da 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 da, yai da da da
Good? All right. So whatever it is that you're bringing in as we head out of the weekend into Shabbat, and my house, this has been a very long week because we left our kids at camp on Sunday, and like the schedule of the holiday and when you're off and when you're not off. It's very confusing. Like, what day is it? It's been Friday like 4 times this week, except at least in my head. But here we are. And I'm just noting that in myself, I'm still feeling like a little like flummoxed. So if you're also feeling a little flummoxed, then I just invite you to take a breath with me and settle into Shabbat, because it is actually Friday today, even though it wasn't 2 days ago. And we are, at least the letters that we finally got from camp today were a la Alan Sherman's Hello Mudda, Hello Fada, the first half of the song. So I'm waiting for the second half to come, after Shabbat follows. And I'm hopeful. I believe in Alan Sherman's camp wisdom that it's coming. And I've seen a couple of smiles and pictures, so I think it's there. And we're on pages 138 and 139. welcome Shabbat there, wherever it is that you would like to face, to take a breath and to make space and to welcome Shabbat. you're sitting near somebody you already know. You might have to step out of your seat to say hi to somebody. I know it's awkward. Do it anyway. Page 120. You can be seated. We light our Shabbat candles. And anybody have like a birthday or an anniversary this week? Oh yeah, come on, candlers. I did see that in the face world. There was an anniversary. Stephen, you have to come too. It's an anniversary. Come on. Come on. Page 120.
Oh, hear our prayer we sing to you. Be gracious to the ones we love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear our prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
How many years again? 53 years. Mazel tov. That's beautiful. All right. So we'll. Is that thunder? Are we expecting thunder? Oh, clearly, I did not know that. What? There was a clue. Yes. Thank you. Les. I have been spending more time watching the weather in West Stockbridge, Massachusetts, than in our zip code. That's what happens. Yeah. All right. So what's good? What are the blessings in this week or right now that you would like to, help us use to sanctify Shabbat? Larry. Yeah. Great. Blessings of health, both recovering and not getting sick. Beautiful. Jill. Yeah. Time with family. Amazing. It's a time, I'm repeating, time with family. Good. Yes. Because, live control. And live control, speaking of live control, you can tell us your blessings too. I'll read them out loud. Janet Fink. Oh. That's cute. Janet Fink had a robin make a nest and lay eggs, and they hatched. That's amazing. Those are all like amazing things that don't always all happen. That's beautiful. Yeah, so sad. Well, yay for these baby birdies. Sorry, they're talking a lot. Costa Rhoda says that he is also recovering nicely from a bout of COVID. So people are in good company, unfortunately. Marla. Wow. Amazing. And we got to meet your daughter last week. Marla was here with family big trip to Spain. And I love that you led an unveiling. I'll just use that as a little plug. Unveilings are one of the rituals. Apparently, there's weather. Unveilings are one of the rituals that you really, we think we need rabbis for, but we don't really need rabbis for. I want to empower people always to take some ownership of Jewish ritual leading, and that's one of them. And Marla trusted me and did great, I'm sure. Good. What else? Okay, here's one. Hi, Jane. Joanne Siegel said she's glad it's Shabbat, and she got to enjoy some outside time when it was still cool enough. Okay, well, we dropped our kids off at camp, and that was exciting.
And I got to celebrate my friend's 20th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Cool.
And I was a bridesmaid in their wedding back in the day, and we're still good friends. So
That's
I'm
amazing.
feeling very grateful for our friendship.
I'll add my two more things is that I got to hear 2 concerts this week, both at Tanglewood, and they were both excellent. I heard Brandy Carlisle on Sunday, and then James Taylor on Wednesday, and it was just magical. I mean, everything at Tanglewood is magical, but these were 2 particularly magical concerts. Tanglewood is in the Berkshires. It's a big, huge outdoor shed and outdoor concert space. It holds about 18,000 people, and we're lawn people at Tanglewood. You could be shed people too, but we're lawn people. So that was really wonderful. It's hard to make time for that other weeks in life. And then also I'll just add that this week, July 1st, is when fiscal years in synagogue start. It's when rabbis' contracts start and renew and all those things. And this is the beginning. This July 1st marked the beginning of my 15th year at Barnard Temple, which is like a number. So that felt nice for all of us in our anniversary. So that was great. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? No? Okay. So page 123, please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki vanu acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'im, ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uratzon inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Page 146, we remain as we are. Intentional breath for Shabbat. page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 154, please be seated.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher Anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am v'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochtecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam me'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'bisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elehechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
So this moment of singing Captives of Hope instead of Micha Mocha is one of the ways that we stay anchored not just in this service and in Jewish time, but also like with the Jewish people, right? That we can't make sure that we don't go through this day, this service, or a week, even if this is the only time when you think about it. I imagine it isn't, but at least here that we remember, we pray for the captives, release, for bodies to be returned, for people to be returned, and for this war to end. Earlier this week, I got a note from our friends at Yozma, Kilat Yozma in Modi'in, which is our sister congregation, and wishing me like a beautiful, thoughtful sort of reflection on Independence Day, heading into July 4th, and I paused because we don't tend to relate here to our Independence Day the way Israelis relate to Yom HaAtzmaut, right? We are disconnected from it. We feel like it's a day of sales and barbecues and not really really when we think about how we spend July 4th, it's just very different, and it's for lots of reasons, and it's not meant to be a statement of judgment, it's just rather a statement of observation. And so I think in part in response to that, Alden Salavi's piece really spoke to me this year as we head into Captives of Hope. Alden Salavi is an American and Israeli liturgist and writes a lot of poetry and prayers that I continue to share with you. But this one I'll offer first. It's called Rocket's Red Glare. It's a lie. The rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, are not proof, day or night, that our flag, our country, our borders, our people will survive the horrors of war and terror. Oh, say, can you see there is no romance in the streaks of missiles piercing the sky, the booms of intercepts, the shrapnel falling to earth? And here and our hearts there we pray for peace and for wholeness and for our ongoing connection to our people in Israel and for the better world we have yet to see, but that we continue to hope for and to imagine.
Baruch atah Adonai asher asanu esirei tikva. Baruch atah
from that prayer to the words of Hapores, which are part of Hashkivenu. The Hebrew is on page 161. And these are words that we offer. We offer our prayers for shelter, right? So if we sort of move to this week where we did celebrate our independence, it's an America-focused week in hopefully the most beautiful ways. We imagine that this shelter that we're praying for is not just like this shelter. It's also the kinds of shelters that we build in our societies to protect people, right? To keep people safe. I'm actually just going to invite you, can keep playing, Janet, to call out your wishes, your prayers of shelter for this country right now as we celebrate our independence. Just what is it that you pray for America specifically, having just celebrated yesterday our independence? As we look ahead to a new year. Stability, freedom, democracy, tolerance, acceptance, peace. Sorry? Respect. Sorry, what'd you say, Len? Awareness. I'm not going to repeat that one. Okay, Larry said new Supreme Court justices. Systems of checks and balances and support and equity and access to health care and, all the things, right? That's what this shelter also is a reminder for us to pray for and work for and vote for, right? All these prayers in our liturgy that are liturgical, right? It's a prayer for safety at night that we'll feel safe and we'll wake up in the morning. It's that, and it's also this larger anchor that helps us see up and see out and build to protect from rainstorms and from threats to democracy. Page 161 in the Hebrew.
Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu el kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu el kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Page 164, please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov,
רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue privately through 180 and 181. You may do so standing or seated, as is your custom. Anticipating the size of a group we could do a little study with tonight. We're going to do a study instead of like, I'm not going to talk at you. We're going to talk together, okay? So you're, hey Baylor, can I enlist your help? Thank you. Okay, you're going to hand these sheets out. You're excellent. And I think there's like 20 of them. So if you came with somebody and you really like that person, share with them. Even if you don't really like that person, please share with them. Terrific. Okay. And while Baylor's handing things out, you don't have to run. Everything's good. We're just gonna orient ourselves in the Torah right now. So, what is our Torah portion called this week? Who knows? Korach. Right. Okay. So our Torah portion is called Korach. And what's the central story of the Torah portion Korach? Who is Korach? A rebel. Korach is a rebel. Okay. Good. Tell me more about Korach. Who is he? Whose cousin is he? And Moses. Okay. So Korach is a cousin, like a cousin, right, of Moses and Aaron, not like a 27th cousin once removed, like a cousin, legitimate, blood relationship of Aaron, the high priest, and of Moses. And we're not studying the story, which is why I just want to make sure everybody knows what's happening in the story portion. So what happens with Korach? What makes him perfect? Bailey, you have one left there? You did the most perfect job a person could have ever done. He's sharing with you, right? Oh, yes. No, he's fine. He's perfect. Baylor, you're perfect. Don't let Gabe tell you otherwise. Okay. What is Korach known for? I know some of you know. Don't be shy. Great. Great. So Korach says, who do you think you are, having all of this power and not sharing all this power with us? You're just a power-hungry, power-loving power man, right? And actually, he wants to be in power, right? He says, well, like, I should be in power because of whatever. It doesn't matter why for today. And so Moses, how do you think Moses might be feeling in these moments? Okay, rattled. Let's say at least rattled, upset, angry, whatever. We're going to talk about that sort of sense. You have to just know what's happening in the story. But let's just get to the end of the story, which we're not studying. How does it end for Korach? Good or bad? Bad. Right? So there's Moses, okay, we'll make a test. We'll make a test and we'll see who God chooses, right? We're all going to make offerings of incense on fire pans, because that's like a normal thing then. And we'll know whose incense God accepts. And what happens in that moment to Korach and his followers? The ground opens and it swallows up all of these rebels, right? And we've studied this story before. We'll study it again. It's a really complicated story, but about 250 people sort of disappear in the earth. And then there's another way of, after that, they have to sort of reestablish who the leadership will be, and every tribe has a staff, and the staffs are left with by the Mishkan, and Aaron's staff sprouts almond flowers, and that's how they know that Aaron is the one, to continue. He was, okay, so order is sort of reestablished. But you could imagine that the people might be feeling like a little rocked right now, right? Because one of the leaders, one of the cousins of Moses and Aaron, approaches Moses and Aaron and attempts a coup, essentially, and fails, and a lot of people are killed in the process. Okay, so we're not studying anything in the story, but I want you to know the stories because I want you to know the stories, and also because the context of what we are going to study would make no sense if you didn't have the story with you. So this is a Devar Torah that was prepared by my colleague, at least most of it, by Cantor Josh Breitzer. You'll see his name at the top. Cantor Breitzer is the senior cantor at CBE, Congregation Beth Elohim in Brooklyn. And he's been writing, if you don't subscribe to the 10 Minutes of Torah, it's a lovely way to get like a little bite of Torah from the Reform movement every week. And occasionally I read ones that I think are like, cool, I've never thought about it that way, or I learned something in a different way and I want to share it with you. And this one lent itself for us to study nicely. Good? You following? This one's all about trope. It's about a particular trope sign. So we're going to read just the translations of these verses. And as we do, I want you just to keep your eye we're going to scan it. Do you see in the first Hebrew section, the third word there's a little sign above the aleph that looks like an upside down wishbone kind of, or like a backward 4? Yeah? Do you see all those little marks in the Hebrew that are sort of like above or below the word? So those are called trope signs. And those are the markings that we use to chant. That's how I know what the melody is when I'm chanting, right? So if I were looking at this, that trope I really want you to pay attention to is called a pazer, okay? And it sounds like this. It's kind of an unusual one. It's very pretty, right? So he's going to write about this in a minute. But there are a number of occasions in this Torah portion where the pazer appears, and I didn't actually include all of them, but enough that we can notice it. So that little wishbone sign, that's the one that's called the pazer, and that appears in all of the verses that I've given you here. There's 5 of them. So we're going to read the English, and I want you to I'll tell you what the word is that the pazer is on, so you don't have to guess, because that would be useless. But I want you to think about that melody. Pazer, right? And just note, I'll tell you what word it's on in English, and think about maybe why would that melody be on that word? Sense? Okay. I know, it's different, but it's cool. We're doing it. Ready? I'm going to read because nobody else has a microphone. Oh, we could probably fix that. Jen, we probably could fix that so easily, right? Yeah, great. I'm not going to read. You're already sick of listening to me. I'm going to pass the microphone around because Jennifer has fixes for things like that now. They're so easy. Yeah.
Test.
Oh, I heard it for a second.
Testing.
Yeah, testing. No, I think it's okay. All right, who'd like to read the first one? And tomorrow. It's the middle of a sentence, but it's okay. All right, Elizabeth wants to. Yeah, thank you.
And tomorrow put fire in them and lay incense on them before Adonai. Then the candidate whom Adonai chooses, he shall be the Holy One. You have gone too far, sons of Levi.
All right, so this is the first test I was describing, right? So the pazer is on the word fire, right? Just note that, okay? We're going to come back to talk about all these words. Who'd like to read the second one? You're just reading English. Great, Barry. Thank you. Really close to your mouth, like you want to eat it, like it's an ice cream cone. Yeah.
Even if you had brought us to the land flowing with milk and honey and given us possession of fields and vineyards, should you gouge out the eyes of those involved? We will not come.
Okay, here the pazer is on that first word. You'll see it. It says af, but it's like even if. Like it's on that kind of building in, that like utzing. Even if, right? That's how it's translated. It's not a perfect translation, but that's what the pazer is on there. Good. Anybody want to read another one? Jane, excellent.
He addressed the community, saying, "Move away from the tents of these wicked men or guilty parties, and touch nothing that belongs to them, lest you be wiped out for all of their sins."
So this interesting translation does not really include the word that the pazer is on. I know. But it's like he said, it would be like maybe the translation should really say, please move away, or like, like it would be like a please there, like an imploring sort of word, an emphasis word for moving away from the tents of those wicked people, right? So because here the pazer is on the na, which is like a kind of an emphasis word, I think, here. Good. All right. Another English reader. Great. Marla, I'm coming to you. Happily.
Remove the fire pans of those who have sinned at the cost of their lives, and let them be made into hammered sheets as plating for the altar. For once they have been used for offering to Adonai, they have become sacred, and let them serve as a warning to the people of Israel.
Great. So here, the pazer is on the first word again. You can see it, and it's not really a great eight, right? Machtot, right? So it's sort of, again, it's a leading into this talking about the fire pans. It's more of like a sort of preposition in this case, but we're still heading into thinking about these fire pans. And you're going to see that there's no like brilliant, perfect solution to what this could be. That's okay. It's a little messy. I know that. One more. Who's got it? Okay, thank you, other Jane.
Speak to the Israelite people and take from them, from the chieftains of their ancestral houses, one staff for each chieftain of an ancestral house, 12 staffs in all. Inscribe each one's name on his staff.
Beautiful. Okay. So the pazer here is on the Hebrew word me'itam. So daber el b'nei Israel, speak to the children of Israel, the kach me'itam, and take from them. That's the word that it's on there, me'itam. Okay. So any like perfect, obvious themes that we're seeing here with this pazer? Not really. It's not like a perfect algorithm, right? It's not like you read all these and you were like, oh, that pazer is always on the noun, or it's always on the something that God is doing or Moses is doing. But it's really unusual, and there were at least two other verses I didn't include because they're all this kind of random. in this Torah portion. It's kind of unusual to have this many pazers so close together. So that's sort of why Cantor Breitzer, who's a cantor, sort of draws us to study this here. Okay. So before you read what he wrote, which I can see at least half of you are already doing, what does that sound like to you? I already sang it to you, right? You have the benefit of me singing it for you. He describes it here, right? He says the trope called pazer ascends quickly up the major scale and descends slowly back down, landing on a tone a bit higher from where it started. Remember? Pazer, that's what it sounds like. The word pazer is connected to the Hebrew root meaning to scatter. So even if you've kept reading, stop reading for a second. What does it mean to scatter? And what could it mean to scatter in the context of these verses? Like, what kind of scattering? Great. Does that melody sound kind of like scattering thoughts? Maybe, right? Like wandering or sort of increasing anxiety and coming back down. I mean, it's major, not minor, so that doesn't feel anxious to me, but the idea of ascending and then coming down like more slowly, like with breath, perhaps, right? What else about scattering, Jane? They are totally not united. They are quite scattered. Beautiful. That's in here too, right? This is definitely a story of scattering and fractioning and all those things. Great. Anything else? Yeah, Helen. Beautiful. Sort of taking the things from the staffs from them and the fire that gets lit right on the fire pan, right? These are all actually they seem really random, but they're all really important inflection moments in how the story moves forward. And those are good examples also of things that have to do with God. So maybe we're going to say, oh, the ascending and descending is some way of like connecting this way when the connection this way feels more fractured. All right, that's beautiful. Good. So, okay, any other thoughts about scattering? So good, let's see what Rabbi Cantor Breitzer brought to us. Yes, Gabe. Yes, I did. Beautiful. So Moses did that with the tablets, right? And this trope sign does appear other places, like in the Torah. But certainly in this moment, Moses has had experience, we know, ascending and descending, right? Great. And more than once, right? Because the first time he went, he came down, golden calf, shattered tablets, got to go back again, right? So it's not always like it's just a one trip up and back, right? We know that this journey is a journey, and sometimes we have to make it more than once, right? It's not always done the first time. Beautiful. Okay, so Cantor Breitzer continues. Since Moses is usually the speaker when the pazer trope occurs, perhaps this trope conveys this tone of the tone of Moses' voice. The rapid rise and insistent fall of the melody demands our attention, sticking out from the rest of the Torah tropes in the portion. Might Moses be straining to make himself heard above what he and God both call the rabble of the Israelites? Is this one of his coping mechanisms to maintain authority in the face of such harsh dissension in the ranks, right? Like maybe the people are screaming at him, and he is literally raising his voice to try to get their attention. He is really literally trying to elevate the way he's speaking to get like his hands around the people again, because he has lost them for a little while in some way. There is a major rebellious uprising, right? Great. Another possibility is that the pazer expresses the mindset of the Masoretes who instituted the Torah trope system a millennium ago, right? So the trope the trope did not come me Sinai, I'm doing in quotes because whatever, but from God, right? The trope was put by people into the text to help us read it, actually, to help us articulate it. The Masoretes' decision to assign the pazer to several words throughout this parasha may be a midrash on the scattering of the community. You guys already said this, that takes place when people break into factions. The reiteration of the pazer might be meant to remind us how close the Israelites came to falling apart because of Korach's uprising. Okay, so I want to pause here because this one feels like very relevant right now, right? So when he didn't go on from here. I mean, I'm sure he was thinking about this because I know him and he's a very smart cantor and man. But to think about the ways that societies could fracture. Like where? Give me an example of fractured in society because of threats to authority right now. Oh my goodness. But like seriously, give me an example. Okay, so lots of Supreme Court rulings over the last, 10 days that have garnered lots of different kinds of reactions, fractured, scattered reactions in this country, right? What else? The debate. Yeah, lots of reactions, scattered reactions from the presidential debate, right? Great, what else? Well, I've been thinking a lot about what's happening in Israel still, of course, and there is a fracturing in the leadership in Israel right now about what should be the next course or the right course of action with respect to the particular where they are in Gaza right now. Should they stop and withdraw and focus only on getting the hostages back and deal with the Hamas leadership later, or should they not, right? There is not consensus among the leadership or among the people of Israel, right? Where else is there? Oh, yeah, Elon. Sorry? Oh, yeah, the encampments here, right. There's certainly scattered opinions and voices being expressed on the campuses of the United States. All these encampments, even within the universities, like to know what people are or are not encamped for, right, is very complicated and is certainly causing a scattered feeling, right? Jill? Great. Not great, but yeah, there are lots of questions right now about like what access to healthcare for women will look like in this country, right? And really, that's what we're talking about. But yes, great. Yeah, Janet. Yeah. Yeah. So we're watching this happen not just here, but also in Europe and in the UK and in France. And these are all really big examples, but I just want to like draw you back to this school district, right? The Franklin Lakes Oakland Wyckoff School Board had lost their superintendent, had an interim superintendent, had contracted with a new superintendent, and then last week rescinded the contract of the new superintendent that was to come in. This is some feeling of scattered, right? And how does scattered feel? Very uncomfortable and maybe unstable and like kind of wobbly, right? A little bit like that pazer, which like takes us all the way up and then kind of tries to settle us back down, right? And none of these are meant to be statements about which is good or bad, right? Moses is dealing with like maybe reasonable criticism about his leadership, right? That the feedback about Korach is not all terrible, actually. What the rabbis say is that the problem with what Korach did is about like how he did it and what he said he wanted, which was power for himself rather for other people. But it's not inherently bad to protest. We know that in this country, right? It's about how and why and what, right? That's part of the really important nuance of all of this. Okay, great. So I'm going to read the last paragraph on your sheet. One more explanation for the preponderance of the pazer in Parshat Korach is rooted in the mind-body connection. Rabbi Miriam Klotz teaches of the Hasidic concept of pizur ha-nefesh, a scattered mind state that is not grounded in the body. Pizur and pazer, you can see even in the English transliteration, share the same Hebrew root. In the whirlwind of political one-upmanship and verbal jousting, Cantor Breitzer writes, I wonder how easily Moses got distracted from the other tasks at hand. And could the pazer be an indication of Moses' mental state during an incredibly contentious time? I imagine that if we had all the time in the world, you would be able to share with each other plenty of times where something distracted you, something important was happening and something important distracted you and took you away from what you really felt you were meant to be called, needed to be doing in that moment. Okay. So what do we make of this pazer and this story? What's a takeaway for us from this Torah portion and from this trope? What do you think? No guesses? I'm not fishing for anything. I have my own thoughts, but the answer wasn't in the rest of this Devar Torah, right? He kind of stopped there, and I said, okay, and? So that's sort of where I took the rest of it, but Elizabeth? I'm not fishing for answers. great. So how we sort of stay grounded in our principles and our values and in what we believe and how we convey that, right? Because that may help us in these moments of feeling scattered. It may help us to not sort of reach these anxious peaks. It may help us be aware of how whatever we're projecting impacts other people, right? That we don't sort of lose our own kind of sort of wild thinking into sort of other people's space, which makes it harder for them to sort of stay grounded. Beautiful. What else? Helen? Right, because we could look at Moses and read him as like a scattered leader in this moment. Maybe we could say that's what the tropes kind of communicate, right? That Moses like lost his footing, right? And then we'd have to take a step back and say, whoa, let's look at everything Moses has done and look at the whole picture here, right? That every leader, every person has moments of feeling scattered. Also, maybe that's part of it. That happens, if it happens to Moses, guys, we could be a little kinder to ourselves, right? Right, Cheryl. Okay, we're not talking about Korach right now. But maybe the trope asks that, are you saying? Maybe the trope says to us, and I think the Torah and certainly the rabbis are not clear about, like, they obviously come down against Korach, but it's not that they find no sympathy with him, right? But maybe the trope says to us, like, we also can't get too haughty. Maybe Korach didn't deserve this kind of an end given what he staged. Beautiful. What else? Janet.
I was actually thinking the way the trope goes faster than slow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes we rush too much and it reminds us to pull back
And take our slow steps down, right? That's that sort of mind-body connection. Yeah. Yeah, Janet. Oh, that's lovely. So, yeah, could be. Could be that Moses is a stutterer, and it reminds us also that, like, we shouldn't judge that, right? That we don't know. And some people have a harder time speaking, which should not, for us, speaking in a way that we expect anyway. And that we have to catch our own judgments of that, right? And not rush to assumptions about people's ability or intellect or whatever it is because of how they speak, right? Beautiful. These are all the right answers. Like, I don't think there is an answer to this question, especially because that pazer pops up in so many different places. It does, to me, indicate like a feeling of elevated something that's happening then, right? Like the way you would expect it to feel when a leader challenges another leader very publicly with a whole group of people who have already joined on with his crew. Like, he's got a whole team with him when he challenges Moses. It's not like a one-on-one coffee date, right? It's very public and it's very big. And then the people have to regroup after that. And they do, right? The people do continue. This isn't the end of the story. This scattering does not destroy the people. Maybe it threatened to, right? Maybe that's one of the things that Cantor Breitzer says. And if we stopped here, we might be really nervous. But we know that there's more tsuris coming, but also more arrival at land coming, right? Jane. Mm-hmm. And it resolves, kind of, yeah. It feels like a ladder that's got like a lot of quick rungs you have to climb up on one side, and then like you can sort of more gently return. And it returns to a note higher than where it started, remember? And also maybe that leaves us in a new place, right? Maybe having learned something or grown from where we began. It doesn't resolve. All right, we need to go to the end again, you're right. Yeah, but it does leave us in a different place, right, from wherever we started. So wherever you are this Shabbat, right, like I love that this is both personal, like what is the stuff that is making me feel scattered in my own head and heart? We all have those moments. And also, how does this story of a people feel relevant to our story as part of people's right now? And how can we try to steady ourselves and notice when we are sort of feeling ourselves kind of increase in this anxiety and help each other take that slower step down to a place where we've learned something, even if we know it's going to happen again. It's life, right? But we're heading into like times when we're going to need that slow return. And we're going to need to remind each other that the Israelites, they got there together, right? And they were all part of it. And they needed to have everybody part of it. Baylor, Finish us off. I would love to hear. Right. So maybe his style is different, right? Then, like, is that what you're saying? Like, he might be like a more scattered kind of leader than, is that what you're saying? Yeah, but then he comes back. Like, we have to trust him, right? Like, maybe he is feeling a little, like, he does it a little differently. Maybe he has a brain that works differently from Korach's brain or Aaron's brain. And, like, it's a good brain. It just works a little differently, right? And it's going to come back, and it's going to take us somewhere higher. So, like, whatever you need a pazer for this week, I don't know, wherever you are feeling scattered. I felt really scattered this week. Like, I was so happy to read this Devar Torah this week because it so deeply resonated with, like, my needing to bring myself back, right? How do I get back down that slow last line and return and then keep going forward? So you got that pazer, you can come back, and we are not at the end of the journey. Right, that's part of where we are right now. We're still right in the thick of it. And they got a lot of weeks of traveling left to do with us till they get there. So we are going to offer a prayer for healing on page 371 for our friends and our family who are in need of healing of body or of spirit. And in the middle of the prayer, you'll have an opportunity to share the names of anyone you are praying for this Shabbat. Offer the name of anyone you're praying for tonight. I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. Trisha Anstey, Lele Balestra, Debbie Becker, Susie Bernardo, Kenny Breslow, Suzanne Broder, Eileen Chanksit, Lois Colin, Ori David, Becky Dougal, Gail Eisen, Amy Goldman, Susan Goodstadt-Levin, Jill Gordon, Hannah Batmeir Vichana, Gary Harrison, Robert Kaiserman, Dr. Alan Cantor, James Kaufman, Risa Kaufman, Harry Kessler, David Klein, Joshua Kravitz, Rabbi Michael Kuskin, David Lazarus, Larry Levine, Beverly Lewis, Ruth Levisman, Mo Liss, Phyllis Manton, Dana Margolis, Mikey Norman, Andrea Pekin, Thelma Blanchak, Randy Ringler, Eileen Rudzowitz, Mindy Schwartz, Joanne Siegel, Julie Seidman, Beth Silverman, Buddy Silverman, Myra Silverman, Bob Sonnenklar, Mary Pat Sullivan, Erica Summers, Joel Schwartzberg, Martin Tanzer, Wilbe Texera, Rita Torin, Siona Wartenberg, Joyce Weinberg, Stephen Weinberg, Helene Weinberger, Teddy Wool, Michael Wolf, and Morris Yamner.
Misheberach imod
Page 586 in the middle of the page. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 591 in the middle of the page. Please be seated.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד
Page 598. And we remember your friends and your family whose yahrzeit fall on this Shabbat or during this time of year, those who have died in more recent days. And this week we observe the yahrzeits of your beloveds in our community. We remember Isabella Cordero Acevedo, Harry J. Betauer, Eva Borson, and Murray Borson, Dorit Eckstein, Pearl Graber Esserman, Leon Fink, Yada Friedman, Deborah Freelander, Gail Fried, Violet Goldsweig, Abram Goodkin, Lee Gordon, Albert Greenbaum, Robert J. Kent, Perry Lampert, Norman Manton, Edith Siegelmintz, Barbara Pam, Tamar Ostrega Perlman, David Robbins, Themistocles Constantine Rodas, Amelia Salkowitz, Saul Sanders, Joseph J. Shack, Esther Ipschwartz, Ruth Cohen Schwartz, Melvin Silverstein, Ignis Steiner, Mark Stern, Michael Thaler, Joseph Balukowitz, Sylvia Weber, Helene Weinberg, Betty Slater Weisenfeld, Rita E. Wolfberg, Elaine Zinneman. During this period of Shloshim, we remember Roberta Hoff. And this week we offer Kaddish, first for Marcy Abrams, who was the wife of Paul Abrams and herself, both of them longtime members of Barnard. And they had been in Florida a lot recently, and we offer our love to Paul and to Linda Abrams and her husband Paul Adler, and to Jeffrey Abrams and his wife Sarah Abrams and their children Samuel, Joseph, and Michael. And Iris, we remember with love your brother Cliff Schiffman, and we extend our arms in hugs and love as you remember him on this Shabbat. If there are others you're remembering whose yahrzeit you're observing or who has died in a more recent time period, I invite you to share their name aloud now. If you're observing a yahrzeit or if you are in a period of mourning, I invite you to rise first. Our way of just noting who the mourners are in our communities so we can reach out in love and support, and we say to you, Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of your beloveds become blessings as you weave their legacies into the way that you continue to live. We rise together on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma tivrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman karim v'yimru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Leolam U'Almei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal Shemei D'Kudusha B'reichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mramav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'el Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all people everywhere. We say together, Amen. Very brief announcements. Next week, next Friday, a week from tonight, weather permitting, we're going to try to have an outdoor service. So if that's your thing, be noted. And also next Shabbat, Saturday morning, and it'll be probably out there, I think. That's the hope anyway. Next Saturday morning, we're doing an in-person Torah study, like a Torah study. Instead of we're taking a break from our weekly Zoom Torah studies and doing one in-person study a week this summer. So Rabbi Scheffler included already the study topic for next week in one of the emails that either came out today or is coming out on Sunday. She's doing next Shabbat. I'll do the one in August, and we're hoping you're going to come for both or one. We'll have breakfast first, and then sort of linger over Torah together. So it should be a really lovely way to spend the Shabbat morning. And the Atrium Minyan, and the August date is the 10th, August 10th. And the Atrium Minyan is meeting twice over the summer also, keeping the same schedule. They're meeting in people's homes. So if you are interested, you have to register. The information will come out, and then we'll tell you where we're going. So those dates are Saturday, July 20th, and August 17th. Good? Great. Okay. We'll do a little motzi, and then we'll finish. Did I forget something? Nope. Okay, good. I'm scattered, It's possible. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Yeah, let's sing. Oh, say shalom, shalom, b'romav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Ozeh shalom, shalom, skies, for El Yazeh of grain. America, Israel, good degrees on thee, and crown my good Israel from sea to shining sea. Shabbat shalom.
It's amazing how easily it works,
I thought it was good that we did the whole thing
Yes,
earlier.
that was a great suggestion. That was perfect. I think the people were like, wait, what's going on?
Otherwise, it would have been too long. It's familiar enough that it's not confusing. You know what I mean? Like you can pop onto either melody and sing it.
Yeah.
this week because we drove his parents into the city to see water for elephants.
Uh-huh.
And then, so anyway.
Hey, Lanny. How are you?
Lanny,
Let me
how
hug
are
you.
you?
You gonna stay for a minute? Yeah. Good. 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 We'll have a cookie together.
Yeah.
Where are they? Speaking of which, they're not back there? Over there. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me just give this back to Jennifer.